stranded in space on a ship crashing into the atmosphere of an unknown planet, Emile Spencer knew that the only way to survive would be by his own wits and guile. He vowed that somehow he would find and slay the titanic cosmic beast that put him in this predicament, VY572. With every installment, we follow Emile's explorations and discoveries on this journey of revenge against all odds. I'm Midnight Jester, and this is the Left Behind Starforge series.
It's another episode, and where we last left off, things are actually kind of looking okay for Emile for a change. It started off a little bit tense. There was an interrogation with Sage, and during this interrogation, Emile happened to notice that Sage really got very uncomfortable with the idea that Emile was not following his rules and was speaking out loud. Emile interpreted it as not just that Sage wanted or expected people to not talk, or it had some kind of religious significance or anything like that, but he was truly afraid of the consequences. And Emile put the screws to him with this and just kept talking and got Sage to give up that apparently the reason for all the silence is that at the very least, Sage believes that all of these prisoners on the run have subdermal microphones that are picking up everything they might say, and that everything they say could be getting transmitted across the galaxy, and it puts everybody in danger, and Sage just desperately didn't want to take that risk. Emile then acquiesced, using the keyboard to speak via text as opposed to speaking out loud, and through this, the two of them were able to reach something of an understanding, which was that Sage wants things to get a little bit more back to normal around here and wants to be able to talk, but before they can do that, Concord was going to have to work on a project that would put up something of a shield to prevent the settlement from being scanned from space. You know, he's trying to keep the people that may be hunting him down from being able to as easily find him. But in order to do that, they needed a power core. Something massive to be able to power something of this scale. And the only one he knew of was on board the ship that they came in, and unfortunately, the AI that ran that ship was wise to their attempts to get the power core, and that was what the AI needed to survive. So Emile was sent in to do it instead. And thankfully for Emile, he was successful at that job. And that's kind of where we left off. He got the AI to accidentally destroy itself, at least mostly, damage itself at the very least. Enough so that they would be able to salvage the power core, which that would at least temporarily be the end of the AI Tetrahedron in there. Now, unlike the last couple of sessions, I don't have a vignette that I want to start with this time. I want to get right back into the action with Emile. And I want to play out kind of shortly after Emile is successful at this. You know, we described last time about how he had been taken over there on a skiff by a couple of other members of the community that they didn't have names last time, and I don't think I'm going to give them names this time. They're just kind of anonymous, both from our metagame perspective and also in the moment. We described how, you know, remember the environment that they took Emile through is utterly caustic. It is just acrid, unbreathable air with sulfur geysers everywhere and just extreme heat. So they're covered just head to toe in these loose robes and goggles and just trying to expose as little to the atmosphere as possible. So Emile doesn't really get a good sense of who they are or wouldn't be able to recognize them from any other person later anyway. And let's pick up with Emile still on the ship, because Emile certainly has a moment here. They would have heard the turrets going off and everything when the security system kicked in, and the turret fire has stopped now that Emile has gotten the AI to blast its own housing. But Emile has a moment here. He's still not sure exactly what's going to happen when he goes back to the people of Concord, and right now is being left to his own devices. So I think it would behoove him to take this opportunity. He can't take too long before they get suspicious of what he's up to, but he should probably have a look around the ship and formulate a bit of a plan in case this goes wrong. We don't know officially that Concord will actually let him, be free just because he did the one thing that they wanted. So I want to start off basically exactly where we left with Emile. He's catching his breath, having just had to dodge a bunch of laser fire. The housing is still smoking behind him. Tetrahedron is glitching in the background, just still trying to talk to him. I think Tetrahedron is even saying things like he's trying. Tetrahedron, the AI, is trying to convince Emile to fix him. That, like, he's doing a full, like, max headroom thing there where, like, his glitchiness is causing his voice to stutter and repeat, where he's like, it's not too late. You can repair me. I hope that came out okay. That was my best attempt to just live do that kind of stuttering in the moment. That was no audio editing. I hope that kind of worked out. I guess I'll find out when I get to listen to this later. And Emile's doing his best to try and ignore it and just take in the environment. He knows that, well, I don't know. I guess I gotta make a decision right here. Is Emile going to play nice with the people of Concord? Or is he going to try and conspire with the AI to get one up on them? Because he could maybe try and actually repair this thing and, like, team up as a secret. He has something of a friend here. He's got Shark, and Shark would maybe be a good asset. He'd hate to just kind of leave him behind, but, the wheels in Emile's head are turning here. Like, maybe this ship could still be flyable. Maybe that's the focus of this move. Emile is determining whether or not he's going to kind of betray the people of Concord, at least a little bit based on the information of how flyable is this ship, how much fuel is left. They had certainly said that there wouldn't be enough to take it elsewhere, but they could have been lying. Sage wasn't necessarily being completely upfront with all of that, and maybe it doesn't have enough fuel to get far, but maybe far enough and at least off planet. So Emile's going to take a look around. He's going to gather information in this ship, just checking to see how far could he get? Could he get this ship operational, especially with the help of the AI, and potentially even without it? Could he fly this out of here? So Emile starts powering up different terminals on here and stuff, getting readings. I'm not going to make use of the tech asset for this because he's not configuring or changing anything. He's just reading stuff. It's nothing that he would get a bonus for. But I am definitely doing a gather information, searching for clues and analyzing evidence, all that good stuff. Let's make a wits roll. Sadly, without a lot of momentum, and perhaps I should have done my vignette to get it a little bit higher. All right, we have a weak hit here. Oh, and it was so close to being a strong hit, too. I rolled a 9, and one of the challenge dice was a 9. Momentum wouldn't have helped me on that, but so close. What would have helped is if I had had a +1 on this move. That would have made all the difference. But as you've certainly heard me hear before, on a weak hit, the information provides new insight but also complicates your quest. Envision what you discover, then take +1 momentum. I feel like the new insight but complicates my quest is obvious. They're clearly... I'm kind of verifying this ship can't get very far on its own. I'm going to ask the Oracle so that I can find out, could I at least get off planet? Like, I definitely can't get out of the sector on my own. Oh, but you know what? Maybe... Alright, I'm not even going to ask the Oracle. I'm just determining this. Here's the information. It could fly. It maybe could get off planet, but it would be a little bit of an ask to get fully into orbit. But if he could refuel this thing, it's otherwise flyable. It just means he would have to indeed get it refueled from either stuff inside of Concord, like through his whatever remaining fuels in his escape pod. But no, you know what? That wouldn't be enough. We've talked about how the escape pod has like very little fuel and he's been pushing it. And it's a very different scale thing. The amount of fuel in the escape pod basically wouldn't make a difference in this. But one place that would have enough fuel, if we assume that there's anything left that can be siphoned from the crashed Reacher, if it didn't all just explode, if there's, like, that's a ship on a massive scale. So we don't know for sure if there's any in there, but maybe, just maybe, he could fly it enough to get it over there, get it refueled, and then get off-world. But of course, doing that is going to be very tricky if he doesn't take care of the Concord problem first. And so Emile ponders over this and tries to think, is it worth it? How safe does he feel going back to them without any of his gear or anything like that? Are they going to just accept that he did a good thing and then let him go free? I think knowing what he knows about how, like, he couldn't get off planet without it, and knowing that they've got a lot of his gear, you know, we arbitrarily set our supply, or not arbitrarily, but we ad hoc set our supply to 1 because they took a lot of his things, even though we never made a move that, like, made us set it back there. So his supply is low, his health is low, his spirit could be better. It may be better to just play nice with them. So he decides he's not going to try and betray them. But I think the one thing he wants to do before losing the opportunity is, you know, even though Tetrahedron was clearly not that sophisticated of an AI to be able to be, it was relatively easily tricked. You know, it only had so much processing power to be able to fire at him while also hacking into his ship, and it didn't recognize the pretty obvious ploy that Emile did and basically shot itself. So it's not that sophisticated of an AI, but it still is, like, it's an AI, and I want to say in this world, that's, like, they're kind of rare to get, like, fully autonomous, self-aware AIs like that. That's no small thing. I think Emile would love to try and get that downloaded onto his computer in some form, like maybe not running it, but like so he can tool with it later. And you know, as a peek behind the curtain, I as a player might want to be able to get the asset where I have an AI companion. That could be fun, and this could allow that to be possible. So Emile starts talking out loud to Tetrahedron a little bit, who's, you know, this whole time as Emile's been looking at the readouts, still trying to plead with him. And Emile goes, "Don't worry, buddy. Maybe that housing doesn't have to be your home. Maybe I got a better one for you. Don't do any funny stuff, all right?" And Emile, he like pulls out a cable from his hip where the main computer is. I see it as like a flex hose, like when you have an extendable, like the faucet on a sink. It just kind of like comes out like a zip cord on his hip, and he can pull it and attach it into things, and then it'll reel back in when necessary. And he finds, you know, some R2D2 port to plug this into and twist it around a little bit, and starts manipulating it to see if he can find at least portions of the AI so he can download and reconfigure it. I think that it's not going to be Tetrahedron in its like best form, but maybe if he does this well, he can get the components to be able to like put some work in and put the AI back together on his own. Stronger, better, faster, with more processing power. I think before I do this, I would like to secure an advantage. And this is going to be with wits, expertise. I'm going to just be trying to make sure that, like, Emile is basically going to lock out all sorts of parts of his system, because he knows Tetrahedron broke through them before. He wants it to at least take some time before he's able to do that again. Putting additional layers of security on, and like partitioning off a different section of his hard drive that like basically does not communicate at all with the other parts of his computer. So he's putting like multiple layers of security. Like he's just putting Tetrahedron on a hard drive that does not communicate with anything else. And then even still, he's re-upping the security on the everything else just in case somehow something weird happens. And that's going to be the advantage I'm securing before I actually try and download Tetrahedron. But this is configuring an electronic system, so I absolutely get my tech +1. And with it, I have a strong hit. So I succeed. I take +2 momentum, and I add +1 on my next move. So momentum's starting to get up there again, as is the amount of time Emile is taking before it's getting suspicious. So I think downloading, or this one attempt to download Tetrahedron is like the last thing he's going to try and do before he heads back out, because he doesn't want them starting to investigate what he's doing. So yeah, I've got everything partitioned and like bolted up and secured as described. And now for the important move, the face danger with wits, which will also be a tech. Actually, you know what? This is no longer configuring, optimizing, hacking, or disrupting an electronic system. I'm just moving files over. It's a bit of a stretch to call it a configure. I'm going to give myself the +1 from the move I just did, but I'm not going to give myself an additional +1 from the asset. It's a little bit too much of a stretch. Oh, wow. Okay. Clearly I should not have done, like, I shouldn't have done the secure an advantage. Had I not done it, I would have been fine. I would have had a strong hit on this. Unfortunately, we get to see this for the first time. Miss with a match. I'm pretty sure this is the first time. And a double 8 match. I like to play, as I have said before, where the scale of the result of the die scales up the consequences of miss with a match. So this is going to be a pretty big one. On a miss, you fail, or a momentary success is undermined by a dire turn of events. Pay the price. Now, this absolutely has to be... Tetrahedron definitely is able to bridge that gap. Tetrahedron, even in its damaged form, like once it's downloaded onto Emile's personal computer, is going to wreak havoc. But that's just what I would do on a miss. Not only is he going to break through all of Emile's security, but with a miss with a match that high, in order to keep myself surprised and keep this story flowing, we're going to do the thing that was always a potential from last time. And that's that Tetrahedron is going to make that connection to the bomb, the self-destruct on the escape pod. He's going to set it off. So Emile thinks that everything is good. We're going to have that. We're going to have that take a moment to get there, actually, because this is a big miss of the match. And it takes some time for Tetrahedron to do this. He works silently in the background. First, he's got to get through actually bridging the connection. Then he's got to start, really without drawing a lot of attention, re-establishing that connection and like hacking through the new layers of security. And then he accesses the bomb. But also, like, Tetrahedron has access to all of Emile's AR system. It knows what Emile can see, so it waits for the opportune moment for this. It's going to wait until Emile is back in the area where this thing is going to explode, and then it's going to set it off. Because it turns out Tetrahedron really doesn't like the fact that Emile got it to shoot itself. And now that it has a second chance, oh baby, it's going to take Emile out with him. It knows that it's been permanently marred by what happened. So with that sort of Damocles hanging over our heads, let's have Emile take the cord back, thinking he's done this right. No indication that there's going to be any other problems. And he's going to walk off board, thinking that it's time to just seek refuge in this community and see how they take it. So Emile comes out to the opening in the side of this ship. Hands kind of not like fully over his head or anything like that, but he's like making an effort to make sure to demonstrate like he's not coming out with any weaponry or anything like that. He did take a little bit of a moment. He fully expects and is right to find that the two escorts that he had that brought him here on the skiff are like, they're a little bit on guard when he comes out. They've got weapons, not fully like trained on him as he comes out, but very much at the ready if he does anything funny. But he doesn't, and they see that Emile is, coming out demonstrating his, harm kind of stuff. He hops down through the hole, down onto the, into just a little bit of a bed of ash, and starts walking over to the skiff. And Emile says to them, should be all good. AI's no more on there, and I think if you want to take a look inside and check for yourself, think you'll find there's no more security system. Should have full access to all the power and everything you need in there. And I think the two of them kind of exchange glances, and they start signing something that Emile doesn't understand, but the ultimate decision is basically like, we're going to have somebody else do that. Less out of a like, we're afraid to go in, and more out of a like, that's Sage's call. So they just kind of exchange a nod towards Emile and like gesture back towards the skiff. And Emile gets on, and they head back to they start riding back to the opening, which I see as having like the door is definitely closed behind them when they came back, but as they start getting closer, one of them starts punching in a code to open up the door, and I think I would like Emile to take note of this. He wants to know for his own purposes, even though it may well not really mattering, but Emile wants to know, like, what is what is the signal to make this door happen? And he wants to do it a little bit unnoticed. He doesn't want them to know that he's seen the way to access, but he's going to try and slyly just take a peek at how they are sending that signal to get the door to open without actually just doing like a radio hail like Emile did. And I think this is just going to be a face danger with Shadow, which Emile is not very good at. The only thing that would really be helping him at all is like his little AR he could have, like enhancing the vision for him a little bit. And of course, little does he know, as he enhances that vision and zooms in, it's just making Tetrahedron all the more aware of exactly how to operate that door. But I don't think that's enough to give him any kind of ad or anything like that. It's not like this is an official item that, like a relic or something. So let's just face danger with Shadow. Okay, a weak hit. Could definitely be worse. We've already seen worse. On a weak hit, you succeed, but not without cost. Make a suffer move -1. All right. So Emile definitely notices, and I think the big problem with this is indeed related to Tetrahedron also being just as aware of like how to remote access this door, like what is the code that's typed in to send it a signal to open up or not, and not rely on somebody else to open it for you. So the suffer move, I'm going to bring down momentum a little bit because this is representative of how Tetrahedron is going to be just all the more in control of Emile's environment. And so it's going to be harder for him to get away with things because, like, say, Emile were trying to escape through the door or something, and it hadn't been blown open, like, Tetrahedron would be able to kind of stop him and, like, is better able to fight back. And so we're going to lose momentum to kind of represent that Tetrahedron's control of the environment is just increasing. But so the door starts opening, and it's indeed just enough that, like, the skiff can get through and then it can close behind. Perhaps that's even part of the code here. Is there's like different signals you can send in. Some of them have the door open like wide, so that just a huge ship can get in. And some of them just signal like open to, this pre-established degree, open to this pre-established degree. And so it just on its own opens to like just enough for the skiff to get in without opening too much, with just like a little bit of margin on the side, and then can close behind. And so the moment has come. I'm just going to ask the Oracle now, how long is Tetrahedron going to be waiting? Is Tetrahedron's... We need to find out if Tetrahedron's aim is mostly revenge against Emile, or if it would still rather do like maximum carnage to hit other people as well, really hurt this community. Would Tetrahedron wait for more people to be in the hangar? Or is just the three of them there near the ship good enough? So this is an Ask the Oracle. The question is, does Tetrahedron wait for more people before setting off the self-destruct sequence? And I think it's honestly a 50-50 here. It could really go either way. So let's indeed just roll with 50-50. This is the sound of me not remembering exactly how I phrased this, so I am now going to go back and listen to the recording of what I said, because I can't remember. The answer was yes, but I can't remember whether I said, will Tetrahedron wait, or will Tetrahedron set off the self-destruct now? So, one moment, please. Okay, I'm back, and you probably already know this, but the question was indeed, does Tetrahedron wait? Not, does Tetrahedron set off the bomb now? So the yes is... Tetrahedron is going to wait for more people. So that dangling sword continues. We know that eventually, before this session ends, that bomb is going to go off. We will make good on the miss with a match. But the moment is not now. So they take the skiff in. We get like this cool shot from the inside of the escape pod where we can see a blinking light representative of the connection to the self-destruct sequence. And the screen that shows like a camera feed of the outside is even still running. And so we look at the skiff as it goes past the outside into the hangar, and the doors are closing behind. And for a moment, the audience thinks maybe it's about to blow because we know that Tetrahedron is connected. But then it doesn't, and the skiff continues. And we follow to the end, they get off, and Emile rejoins the rest of the people from Concord. They take him back to the interrogation room because Sage is just waiting for him there. And again, it's not like Emile's not manacled anymore or anything like that. They're just finishing out their conversation. Emile tells Sage what he told the people on the outside. He does it through the computer terminal, which is still set up in there. And just, basically types in that, like, it's been a complete success. Security systems turned off on board your ship. AI disabled. You should be able to salvage whatever necessary. And then Emile repeats his claim that, like, I actually know a lot about salvage. I would be happy to help you get this operation going. And Emile's using that as an opportunity to try and, like, really make sure that, like, now that I've done the thing for you, we don't have to, like, end the friendly terms. We can keep this going. So I'm going to make that a compel move. The compel is specifically persuade Emile to just have free reign in this community. Like, clearly we don't mean each other any harm. I'll demonstrate to you that, like, it's all good inside, and then we can just work together. So let's see how that goes. All right, strong hit. They'll do what you want or agree to your conditions. Take +1 momentum. So there's that momentum back. I'm now sitting at a +5 momentum. And Sage clearly is seeing the value in keeping Emile around, and that perhaps he was a little bit too hasty, and in fact starts typing that into the screen, saying, perhaps I was a little bit too hasty in my desire to protect the community. You made good on your promise. You do not appear to be a danger. We'll return your things to you. Please don't make me regret this, because I will not hesitate to act swiftly, as you well know. And so, like, it ends, like, a little bit intimidating, but I think they indeed shake hands. And then from that moment, I think Emile is going to make a point to swear another iron vow to him. Emile, like, as they're getting ready to pack up the screen and everything, because it seems like they're all good, Emile starts typing out a new vow to Sage, which is, in exchange for this peace, I will help your community establish this shield against scans. So let's swear that iron vow. This one starts with a miss. On a miss, you must overcome a significant obstacle before you begin your quest. Envision what stands in your way. Well, I think we know what that is. Sage wants to do it right away. And it's just like, responds to Emile on the screen. Why don't we head back together? You can demonstrate how it's all disabled, and we can immediately get to work on salvaging this power core. And so Sage and Emile and, like, a group of engineers. In fact, I think even Shark is there. Like, they on the way out, they open up the door and they get Shark out from his little, like, prison cell holding area sort of thing. They communicate to him through sign language that, like, there's a job to be done. Shark, even though he was speaking to Emile before, does know the sign language and signs back, gets some gear, and, like, joins a group of people who are, like, slinging up. Like, it's this whole crowd of, like, of people that are ready to do some hard labor, all coming into the hangar all at the same time. And then, of course, on their way out, as they're getting ready to open up the door, they walk just that little bit closer to the escape pod, and it's a significant amount of the community. In fact, let's ask the Oracle before this happens. Let's get an idea of how many people, what kind of rough percentage of the community it is. We know that in total, Concord has hundreds of people here. I had arbitrarily rolled like a D1000 when I was figuring out how many specifically that is, and settled on a number that I no longer really love. I had initially gotten 772 people, but considering what I determined about Concord of these being people that are escaped prisoners, that seems really high. I think we're in the low hundreds total of both people that were indeed prisoners and just other members of their organization that kind of helped break them out of prison. We're probably looking at, I don't know, maybe like 120 people total, 120 to 200, something like that. Low hundreds of people. And I want to find out a rough percentage of how many of them are going to be in the hangar with Emile now. There's no way it's going to be everybody there, but, like, a lot of them are pretty scrappy people, and it's a big job, so let's ask the Oracle a little bit about this. We're going to say that it is almost certain that there are... We know Sage and Shark are there, like, Valkyrie, anybody who's named is there. That's just a given. Sage, Valkyrie, Ghost, Shark, They're all part of this. They'll have their own role in this salvage operation. But it's about how many other people are there. So I'm going to set it almost certain that there are, 20 people. There are at least 20 people coming along. Is that true? Yes, there are at least 20 people. Now we're going to up that and say, are there at least 50 people? And I'm going to put that as like a 50-50. Because it's very on theme for 50. Are there at least 50 people? 50-50 chance. No. All right, so somewhere between 20 to 50 people. We don't need a more exact number than that. Just 20 to 50 people. Big crew. Vastly outnumbering Emile. Heading down the hangar. They've got like a number of skiffs that they've gotten on. Everybody is indeed dressed up all over again, ready to deal with the environment, and ready to break into the ship and do just a hard day's work. This is clearly a group of people that have been eager to. They've had too little to do this whole time. They've been spinning their wheels, waiting for the opportunity to finally do this. And the call comes in, and people from all over this base gear up like firefighters on the way. And as they're all riding their skiffs towards the door, getting ready to have it open up probably a little bit wider than before so multiples can get out, the explosion finally happens. And Emile is there in the middle of it all. It is a big explosion. As described when Emile even made this setup to be able to blow, this thing is going to be able to blast a hole through the door. It certainly is blowing the escape pod to smithereens. Anybody nearby is going to have to be caught up in the explosion. It's going to kill a lot of people. We'll see how it takes Emile. Anybody in the nearby area, this is just going to immediately set Emile's health down to 0, and then we'll see what happens from there. His health is currently at 2. It's at least a 2. In fact, we should probably make this a 3, and he should go into the negatives on that. He's not immediately in the area of the explosion, but it is a big, big blast. And we're going to roll the oracle for all the named people to find out whether or not they survive. The skiffs are blasted to the side. There's a huge it shakes the earth the size of this explosion. Breaks some of the structural supports that are keeping this hangar from caving in are weakened. It really wrecks this area. So before we do too much, let's have Emile take that damage. So immediately he takes 3, because this is major harm. I have to lose momentum equal to any remaining harm, so I lose 1 momentum. Then, if your health is 0 or you choose to resist the harm, and I have no choice, my health is at 0, I roll plus health or plus iron, whichever is higher. Right now, unfortunately, that's iron, because I have no health. So let's roll that. No adds. Okay, we at least got a weak hit. That's something. If I am not wounded, which not yet, actually, I may lose momentum -1 in exchange for +1 health. Otherwise, press on. Yeah, being at 0 health is a really bad time. This is perhaps indicative. Emile just rolls with it. It's just tumbling and tumbling and tumbling. And is was thankfully on the back part of the skiff, farthest away, manages to avoid. There's just other people between him and the explosion when it happens, and is able to, as a result, take a little bit less of the main blast, and so his health is at 1 as opposed to 0. Now let's find out who all survived. Doubtless, any number of unnamed people died in that blast. I'm going to just say that, almost all of those 50 people are dead. At least, around 75% of them were just, annihilated in the blast. There are a bunch of skiffs. Most of them just got blasted. Emile happened to be on one that was towards the back. What we're going to say, to keep this simple, is that there are 4 skiffs. Emile's is the only one to have any chance of surviving the explosion. And we're going to ask the oracle to find out for each of the named characters whether or not they were on this skiff. So they basically all got a 25% chance. Which, as it turns out, is the exact same odds as asking the oracle and setting the odds as unlikely. So, we're going to go down the line for each of them with unlikely. The question is, are they on the survivable skiff? Let's start with Sage. Is Sage on the survivable skiff? Yes. Sage is there. Oh, we have 4 people, so statistically, Sage is the only one to survive, but of course now we know that. They each now still have a 25% chance. Let's do the next one. Is Shark on the survivable skiff? No. I wish it had been Shark just because I already have a connection with him, but Shark is just dead. We never got a chance to do anything with that connection. Maybe if Emile devotes his attention to saving him, like maybe he could just barely be, like he's like mortally injured, but maybe he could survive. He could survive. We'll say that for anybody. Like it's not instant death, but without immediate medical attention, it will be. Valkyrie, is Valkyrie in the survivable one? Yes. So Sage and Valkyrie are both on the skiff with Emile. Shark wasn't. Apparently Shark is the unlucky one, or rather the others are very lucky. And finally Ghost. Is Ghost on the survivable skiff? No. Alright, so despite the 25% chance, it saved 50% of them. So all of them roll. They're all certainly very fucked up by that, but they don't die, and that's what's important. They're all probably also in very weak health and just like trying to get their bearings straight. Everybody's bell has been rung. We got the classic just with tinnitus that everybody is suffering right now. We can barely hear what's happening as the camera is shaking, and Emile is... I really want this to be a moment to try and connect with Shark more. Let's do this. Emile sees Shark just like in a bad way, blasted up against the wall with like wreckage on top of him. And Emile is going to try and race over there and see if he can maybe stabilize him desperately. Let's make this a tension clock. So this is going to be saving... might as well just treat this as a full-on vow. Like, Emile swears to himself that, like, he's not going to dick over Shark again. This is his way of making it up to him. He's going to make good on his word. He's going to save this son of a bitch. So Emile vows to himself, I ruined Shark's life, but I can save it. It's a dangerous vow, and it's going to be up against a 4 clock. He has basically no time to do this. Let's swear that vow, as he is already racing over there. He's just swearing it along the way. Strong hit with a match! On a strong hit, you are emboldened, and it is clear what you must do next. Take +2 momentum. Emile feels this with every fiber of his being. He absolutely knows, like, what he can do. He's going to... Perhaps he can use, like, he's going to concoct something. I need to figure this out just as a person. He sees something that he can use to try and just, like, cauterize Shark's wounds. I feel like the big thing, like, Shark had, like, a limb blasted off or something. Like, he's missing from, like, the knee down on one of his legs. And Emile immediately can tell, like, that's the big problem. He's going to bleed out if he can't staunch the flow of blood from there. And, Emile knows what he can do. So he's going to use that like, the data cord that we described earlier that comes off of his hip and is on, like, a little bit of a reel mechanism. He knows he could use that to tie it as a tourniquet and save Shark's life. So first he has to get over there fast enough, but he knows that's what he could do. And to represent the having a match, let's see. Because all of what I just described, I would get on a strong hit. I would be emboldened, and it would be clear what I must do next. To represent the fact that I have a match, and it's a low match, it was just double one, so it's going to be a minor thing. Let's say... Oh, you know what it's going to be? It's just that Emile is going to be able to break away from, like, Valkyrie and Sage, who now think that Emile did this on purpose. Like, they might otherwise be trying to grab him or just immediately kill him. The match is that Emile is able to break away from them into, like, just the smoke, and, like, there's ash blowing into the room and stuff, and there's enough concealment that he loses them. He doesn't have to worry about them as part of this. That's what the match will be. He gets lost in the smoke and the fog and the ash as it rushes into the room, but he had a clear view of where Shark is, and he bolts over that way. So let's do a face danger with edge as Emile just desperately tries to run over there as quickly as he can. Getting a weak hit. So you're successful and mark progress, but you also encounter a complication or setback. Envision what occurs and fill a clock segment. So let's fill both of those first, and then we'll figure that out. First 2 boxes of progress, but also the first out of 4 clock segments filled. I think what happens, we described how there would be interference coming from Tetrahedron. I think the reason, the complication and setback is Tetrahedron basically like starts putting garbage all over Emile's AR display. And so Emile can't see anymore. He can't tell where he's going. He starts stumbling over things and runs into some wreckage and stuff. He's like, he loses track of where Shark is. So he has a couple of options. He could either remove his AR display and just use his eyes. He could, stop using his targeting computer. Or he could try and fix this issue and like take wrench control back from Tetrahedron. All of his vision is just being filled with utter garbage right now. He can barely tell what's going on, but he can maybe, just maybe, hack his way back to wrench control away from Tetrahedron and be able to see where he's going again. This is definitely using the tech asset. He's hacking his own system, trying to configure it. I will get my +1 on this. It's just going to be a wits move, a secure and advantage as he tries to just get this get better vision back once again. Another strong hit with a match, this time with double 3s. On a strong hit, you are successful. Take +2 momentum and add +1 on your next move, not a progress move. And on a strong hit with a match, take both and mark progress. I've already taken both, but I get to mark progress now. So let's determine why that is. What is it about the match that allows Emile to make progress? So Emile is able to indeed, like, the way I see this happening is Emile wrenches back just enough control to indeed eject the like physical hard drive where Tetrahedron is. Like his all the components that form Tetrahedron the AI are stored on this one separate physical chassis, which Emile kind of like makes sure that he deletes all of the components that have extended over, like ways that things that Tetrahedron has already like extended onto the other hard drive, like deletes those and rips out the physical chassis and just like throws it across the room. So it's no longer accessing his computer. He cleans up the mess on his display. And the reason he's able to mark progress is when he throws the chassis across the room, it actually it hits into something. So the reason that he's able to mark progress is due to just utter blind luck. So Emile throws the chassis across the room and it hits into a piece of like exploded skiff that when it gets jostled by the hard drive, it then like kind of like sparks and spins, like it sets off its own kind of like explosion in the, it's like a piece of the engine or something, and it like fires off once again when it gets hit by the piece of hard drive and starts spinning and flying across the room and hits into some of the debris that was on top of Shark. And so now instead of Emile having to like lift it off of him and clear him out of there and like really brute force it, it's like pushed off an opening on there. It has like, it's pushed some of it out of the way, which has allowed Emile better access to Shark. And Shark is just groaning under there, just like, oh my god, like clutching at himself. He's feeling all of the pain, because like I think part of the other problem with that is that that's also allowed the blood. It's allowed some of the blood that. It's allowed some of that blood to flow all the better, because in addition to pinning him down there, it was also kind of keeping his leg closed. So Emile, he closes the gap. He's there, right there with Shark, and he needs to start wrapping this cord around his leg and cinching it tight to do a tourniquet on him. And I suppose the best way to represent that would be using the heal move. In theory, were I not up against a scene clock, I would do heal, which is providing treatment. But instead, we're going to do that as a face danger move with just Emile is using his wits right now, because I believe that's what you would do when you receive treatment from someone. Can you mend your own wounds? When you provide care, it's a wits move. So we're going to make the face danger move with wits, but we only get the +1 from our last secure an advantage, but we don't have anything else helping us here. We definitely don't have any kind of medic assets or anything like that. Oh my god, this is just the match session. Not in a good way. Miss with a match, a double 9 match. You fail, or momentary success is undermined by a dramatic turn of events. Fill a clock segment and pay the price. On a miss of the match, fill 2 segments and pay the price. So we fill 2 clock segments as Emile at first just like digs into Shark's leg and like injures him more to begin at first. Like he's Emile, he cuts off the like. Emile ties the tourniquet very tight, and it just like it cuts straight through his leg. Like it's a little bit too thin, and it's just it instead of acting like a tourniquet, it winds up acting like a garrote and just cuts through the leg, makes him bleed all the more, and it becomes clear this thing that he has that he thought could act as a tourniquet, it's not going to be able to pull that off. This will not work for that endeavor. It's just going to cut through the leg. And Shark is just screaming and swearing in horrible pain as Emile does this, and he freezes like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Now, I think given that it was the 2 segments and the fact that the tool that he thought he'd be able to use, he's not going to be able to, I think that adequately represents the match. It is a double 9, so part of me wants to make it all the hard... Oh! Let's say that in addition to all of that, in addition to those problems, like he hurts Shark all the more, giving him less time, and Shark is bleeding out faster. He's almost done with this. He can't use the tool he thought he could to be able to save his life. And in addition to that, because it's a double 9 match, at that moment, Emile gets socked across in the back of the head with the butt of a rifle as Sage found him in the thick and is planning on killing him. Emile takes 1 harm, because it's just kind of a glancing blow, and I'm going to have him try and endure that harm before moving on. And now, in addition to all this, we have the Sage problem here. Weak hit, but I could burn momentum and turn it into a strong hit. I forget, what's the difference? How much will that help me? So on a weak hit, I could lose 1 momentum for 1 health. On a strong hit, I could basically just take the 1 health. Oh, well, okay, well then it would be much better. It would be much more advantageous for me to just lose the 1 momentum rather than reset all of my momentum for the same effect. So we're going to take that deal. I'm going to set my momentum down to 6, and we'll set our health back to 1. So Emile sees stars for a moment, he's knocked off of Shark, and like the cord just like rips back into him all too quickly. It's like letting go of a tape measure, and like claps up against him, and Emile looks up and sees Sage is right there with the gun leveled at Emile, and he knows that Sage means business. He blames Emile for all this, and why wouldn't he? For all he knows, this was Emile's creation. How is he possibly going to save Shark in time? Sage is just going to kill him if he ignores him. So perhaps... Now, Sage is in a bad way right now. He's barely standing on his own because of the explosion, which is part of why it was only a 1 hit. Emile... I think Emile, the best thing he can do is just try and compel him. Like, plead with him that, like, whatever you think of me, I'm trying to save Shark's life. Just let me save his life, and then you can do what you will. He desperately pleads with him, and we'll see if Sage cares. We know that Shark had beef with Sage. It may go both ways. Let's find out. So this is him again, basically securing an advantage because he's not actually making progress on... He's not really making progress on saving Shark himself. He's just trying and make sure that he doesn't get shot in the process. Okay, we got a weak hit. Not one that I could save with momentum, though. So I'm successful. I get to either take +2 momentum, or add +1 on my next move. I think momentum is actually pretty high. I'd rather take +1 on the next move. And what this represents is we are indeed successful. Sage shouts out just like, yeah, actually, yeah, Sage shouts out. Because all is lost now. It's the first time we hear his voice. He's not doing sign language. He just goes, fuck! Spits on the ground. Oh, and in fact, like, yeah, he doesn't have a rebreather in or anything. Like, nobody does. The atmosphere is starting to get in here. All the rebreathers have been, like, blasted across the room. He keeps the gun trained on... The +1 that he gets... The +1 that Emile gets is after Sage swears. He reluctantly joins to help Emile do it, recognizing that that is the more important thing right now. He's got to try and save lives. And so he will indeed help add pressure and everything, do what he can to try and save Shark's life. We'll indeed say that, like, perhaps Shark is the only one. Well, we don't know. We don't know how many other people are savable because it's just so hard to see in here right now. There's too much smoke and ash. But we know this is a person who's not dead yet. And so Sage agrees. And Emile's going to face danger with wits once more with a +1 to see, can they try and just, like, get some kind of pressure to stabilize Shark, at least temporarily, while, like, maybe with their hands they can staunch the flow of blood while Emile then looks for something better. So wits with a +1. We have a weak hit that we can't make better with momentum. You're successful and mark progress, but you also encounter a complication or setback, envision what occurs, and fill a clock segment. So we mark progress, but we're also about to hit the clock segment. And that's going to finish out our 4 clock, which means we're going to have to finish this vow now. We've only filled 6 of the boxes. That may be enough. We'll find out. The complication, or the setback, is just that, like, Emile... Okay, the setback is Emile starts inhaling too much smoke because he doesn't have his rebreather got blasted off as well. It's not around his neck. And at the conclusion of this, Emile is just going to pass out and be at... No, that's like a full-on miss thing. So the setback is some of the ceiling gives here, and it rains down over all of them and traps Sage, Emile, and Shark inside this kind of, like, igloo of rubble. They're not crushed by it. It falls in such a way that, like, nobody gets injured by it, but they're just all trapped inside of here, so they would not be able to, like, try and salvage anything else to try and, like, use as a better tourniquet or anything like that. They're trapped inside. We fill in this last clock segment, and let's find out, before that happened, were they able to actually save Shark's life? Was this successful? Progress roll with 6 progress. Let's see. We got a chance. It's a weak hit. So what that means is we get to have 2 ticks on our quest legacy box, for one. But there's more to be done, or you realize the truth of your quest. If you swear an iron vow to set things right, take your full legacy reward. Otherwise, make the reward 1 rank lower. So here's what I think Emile realizes in that moment. He realizes that if he really wants to make... Like, this is all about making amends for ruining Shark's life, right? And he knows that the first thing he did was lie to Shark. He's going to swear a vow to himself that that he will come clean to Shark. He's not going to die with that on his conscience. He's going to make sure that he lets him know that he had lied to him before. Emile could have saved him, but he's going to make it up to him. Let's see, I want that vow to be kind of a big deal, actually. How are we going to represent that? So here's the truth that Emile realizes. The vow was, I ruined Shark's life, but I can save it. Sure, he may well have saved Shark's physically in this moment, Shark is going to survive all of this. But his life is still ruined, and it's because of Emile. Shark is a fugitive. And it's all because Emile wouldn't stand up and demonstrate that he had the proof that Shark wasn't part of the endeavor that they thought he was. He wasn't selling arms to a terrorist organization. Emile didn't prove that. And so now Emile is going to swear to himself that he vows to set the record straight on Shark, to get him out of the system as a fugitive, to show that he was wrongfully imprisoned to begin with. And that's going to be a big vow. That's one... I want that vow to be... I want that to be a formidable vow. This definitely is going to take some time for him to do. There are a lot of steps in the process, and who knows when he's even going to be able to do it. But let's swear an iron vow right now. He swears it, like, Shark is falling unconscious there with him, and Emile just kind of whispers over his form. And, like, Sage can hear what Emile says. He doesn't have the full context for it, but he hears Emile start whispering to Shark's unconscious form, "I'm gonna clear your name. It was my fault. I'm going to clear your name. I promise. We'll set this right. Just live, buddy. Just live for me and we'll make it all right." And it's a miss. You must overcome a significant obstacle before you begin your quest. And I think in this case, the obstacle is just he can't begin to do that quest until he's actually escaped this rubble. There's nothing he could functionally do right now that would make any kind of difference. Oh, and perhaps more importantly, Emile can't begin this vow at the moment because the only reason that Shark is stabilized is because both he and Sage simultaneously are keeping pressure on the wound right now. Like, between the two of them, they can keep that wound closed, but not only does Emile have to escape this situation in order to begin that vow, he needs to find a way to keep Shark alive without keeping constant pressure with his own hands. And so, yeah, that's the big thing standing in the way of starting this vow. And so Emile looks around and recognizes this and catches eyes with Sage. And so how they're actually going to escape this rubble and make any kind of progress on any of Emile's vows? Well, that's of course a question for next time. God, during these outros, I've asked you to do so many different types of things, right? I've asked you to like and subscribe to the podcast. I've asked you to rate the thing at this point. Depending on how that went, you may have even had to write a review or comment or all sorts of other nonsense like that. And while those are all great ideas, you're welcome to do them regardless. This time, we're going to change it up a little bit. This time, I'm going to say, for my outro request of you, I want you to go to the store and buy 3 grapes. Exactly 3. Just 3 grapes. It's for the podcast. If anybody asks you, just be like, it's for the good of the podcast. I need to buy 3 grapes. It'll really help me. So that's the task this time. You got it? 3 grapes. No more, no less. 5 is right out. But as for this week's prompt, here's what I've got rolled up for you. We're doing descriptor and focus again. This time it is rare and portal. And this time what I want from you is I would like you to describe a tattoo design based on rare and portal. Perhaps some character will have this in the game at some point. I swear, like last time, even though rare and portal seems to really lend itself in a kind of obvious way to a tattoo design, I always decide the category before I roll the things, and it feels very artistic. So, just like last time, the more you surprise me and go with not the most obvious thing, the happier I'll be. But honestly, I'll take whatever ideas you have. Shoot them over to starforgedpod@gmail.com, along with your well wishes and whatever else you want to say. I'm looking forward to hearing it all. But that's it for me, so lay me out, music.